All right, y'all. So we are back for chapter 4. I just want to go ahead and do a quick recap. And I also want to say, if you haven't watched chapters 1 through 3, you probably should go back and watch it now, because you're going to be a little bit confused as to what I'm reading if you don't know the story of Esther. So where we left off, Haman was upset that Mordecai did not bow down to him, and because of that, he went to King Ahasuerus and prompted him to wipe out all of the Jews. So we're going to find out what happens next in chapter 4. All right, so let's get into it. When Mordecai learned all that had occurred, he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth and ashes, went into the middle of the city and cried loudly and bitterly. Could y'all imagine that in modern day? Like, this man was going through it. What would you do if you seen a man in the middle of the road or in the middle of your city in sackcloth and ashes just crying at the top of his lungs? But let's read on to continue. He went only as far as the king's gate, since the law prohibited anyone wearing sackcloth from entering the king's gate. There was great mourning among the Jewish people in every province where the king's command and edict came. They fasted, wept, and lamented, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. Esther's female servants and her eunuchs came and reported the news to her, and the queen was overcome with fear. Why was the queen overcome with fear? We know that Mordecai is Jewish, but we've known up until this point that Esther's ethnicity had been hidden. So let's continue to read. She sent clothes for Mordecai to wear so that he would take off his sackcloth, but he did not accept them. Esther summoned Hathach, one of the king's eunuchs who attended her, and dispatched him to Mordecai to learn what he was doing and why. So Hathach went out to Mordecai in the city square in front of the king's gate. Mordecai told him everything that had happened, as well as the exact amount of money Haman had promised to pay the royal treasury for the slaughter of the Jews. So remember, Haman was off the chain. He was like, I'm going to run you that money, bro, to exile, execute, exonerate, whatever word you want to use, all these Jews. So there was basically like a bounty to get them killed. It wasn't just about them getting killed. There was money on their heads. Mordecai also gave him a copy of the written decree issued in Susa ordering their destruction, so that Hathach might show it to Esther, explain it to her, and command her to approach the king, implore his favor, and plead with him personally for her people. Hathach came and repeated Mordecai's response to Esther. So Mordecai was like, look, bruh, give her this decree, explain it to her, tell her what's it about. Tell her she needs to go to the king, because she is the queen at this point in time, and plead with him for favor over their people. So Esther spoke to Hathach and commanded him to tell Mordecai, all the royal officials and the people of the royal provinces know that one law applies to every man or woman who approaches the king in the inner courtyard and who has not been summoned, the death penalty. Unless the king extends the gold scepter, allowing that person to live. I have not been summoned to appear before the king for the last 30 days. So she was like, look, Hathach, I need you to go back and tell Mordecai, listen, I can't do that, because if I go to the king without him summoning me, I'm going to be dead. And I'm not going to be here to tell the story. So go ahead and go ahead, Hathach, go and deliver that to Mordecai, because I cannot do that. And on top of that, he ain't even called for me in the last 30 days. So what do I look like going before him to request something? All right. So we're going to read on to see what happens going forward. Verse 12. Esther's response was reported to Mordecai. Mordecai told the messenger to reply to Esther, don't think that you will escape the fate of all the Jews because you are in the king's palace. If you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will come to the Jewish people from another place, but you and your father's family will be destroyed. Who knows? Perhaps you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. So let's pause. He's basically like, look, you're not going to be excused. And he's basically revealing at this point Esther is Jewish, right? So if we didn't catch that point up until now you know. Esther is Jewish. I was trying to keep it a secret for as long as I could, but Esther is Jewish. So essentially, if her people were to be exiled, she was supposed to be a part of that number. Mordecai was like, look, if you don't want to say nothing, cool. But just know that we're going to get help from another place. But unfortunately, you and your family are going to end up dead if you keep silent. And he said to her something so profound that people say so often. He said, what if you've come to your royal position for such a time as this? And this is so touching because sometimes we don't know why we're in a certain position, at a certain place, at a certain job, in a certain predicament. But if you serve the living God that I do, you'll understand that maybe you're in your position for such a time as this. So I'm going to continue reading on. 15. Esther sent his reply to Mordecai. Go and assemble all the Jews who can be found in Susa and fast for me. Don't eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my female servants will also fast in the same way. After that, I'll go to the king, even if it's against the law. If I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went and did everything Esther had commanded to him. So we can see right here, Esther's like, you know what? Let me just go ahead and accept this challenge, okay? So she basically told Mordecai, look, tell everybody who's a part of our ethnic group that they need to fast. Nothing to eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. And her female servants would also do the same thing. And she literally was like, look, if I die, I die. But I accept the challenge. And that's what is so worthy about Esther's character. Just the ability as a woman to say, you know what? I'm going to go before him and attempt to save my whole ethnic group. And if I die, I die. And that's a very heroic thing. Something that we probably don't see often in, modern day, but it's a beautiful thing. So we're going to continue on with chapter 5 and see what happens when Esther approaches the king. Because I really want to know.